Darylle, how did you come into these concepts of value exchange, and what did they mean to you?
When I started my career, it was in 1973, and I was 21 years old. And in 1973, women were not invited into the business community. They were not invited into banks other than tellers and secretaries and support staff. And they certainly were not invited to go to companies and knock on doors of executives and ask them for their financial material that they would then, find ways to become their banker and so forth. That was just not invited. So it was an era, the whole 70s and a lot of the 80s was a whole era on doing whatever I could to become the best so that I'd have a 50-50 chance of getting to stay. Because I was clearly in an environment that was male-dominated and clearly in an environment that I wasn't invited. And the part that I always thought was really funny is that my brain is the same as a man's brain. It's just contained in a girl body. And I couldn't understand what difference does it make that it's in a girl body. It's the same brain. It's the same everything. So anyway, the interesting thing to me in the very beginning is that I became aware at some point, because my productivity catapulted into high-level success, and I wasn't even sure what I was doing. However, what I became aware that I was doing was really loving my customer, choosing them on purpose, finding out how could I be of value or facilitate. I now had resources, so I started to introduce people to each other and do things that were of high value to my client, and the wins were gigantic, and it was effortless. And so then in working with other companies over the course of my career, it became clear to me that the only methodology that business uses is a numbers thing, a law of average thing. You go knock on 200 doors, you don't really care about the client, you move fast, talk to this one, you give them 2 minutes, you give them 5 minutes, you give them 10 minutes. And so I worked for a company not that long ago that said, why would you spend more than 2 minutes with your client? You say, hi, and can I get your deal, yes or no, because I'm moving on. And that was their attitude. I said, well, I won't be working here anymore. I don't even have the language to describe what you're wanting me to do. So it was not a match, and I parted ways at that point. And so what I'm noticing over the course of my career is that people are being set up to fail. Because since we're wired to contribute, we're not wired to chase down numbers or become a robot to money or a robot to numbers. We're wired to contribute. We're wired to choose who do we want to be with and then use our life and resource and intention to be of value to them. That's how we're wired. So when you ask me to not care about the client and then go knock on 200 doors, because eventually something will pop, I'm now becoming robotic-like and operating in what's in my best interest, not as what is in your best interest. So when I operate in what dynamic is what is in my best interest, that's more predatory, and that feels bad. And then I began to notice that it feels bad to the recipient of my attitude. And I've done that. I've knocked on doors, and I've called on 200 to get 3 and all of that. So most of my teaching is a confession as compared to this just sounds good. So I'm really aware of what works and what doesn't. And when I'm most effective, when I'm most productive, and when I'm most happy and feel best about myself is when I use my intention in life to be of value to another. So I'm wanting companies to put their employees out of their misery, because people are miserable when they're being forced to act and operate in the antithesis of their identity and then set up to fail, and then when they fail become disgraced and humiliated, because that's what's happening. They're saying to their people, you just go out, you better get your numbers, you better come back with 20 or you don't come back. Okay, now you set up a fear. When you operate from fear, you're operating from a weaker point. So I'm not sure who thought this up, but I'm on a mission big time to awaken in any business corporate leader that wants to produce more and expand and grow their business and do it with the support of others, employees and clients and so forth, that the fastest way to productivity is use your resources to empower, to uplift, to encourage, to nourish, to support the very people that will bring you the prosperity that you so seek. That comes from empowering people, not scaring them. When you scare someone and set them in fear, now they're in fear ultimately of death, their demise in some way, and then they bring you 20. Well, if they're able in all that fear to bring you 20, I'd really question the quality of that 20, personally. And do you really want that 20? Because law of attraction means you're going to find a match. So you launch an employee in fear, and then they're going to go match that fear with other clients that are as fearful as they are. So how sustaining is that kind of a business? So yes, I'm on a mission. Why? Because it seems like all of this abuse dynamic is just what we're all predisposed to for some reason. It's like somebody launched a long time ago the concept of this is how business works. Well, I found as walking around in a girl body that seemed to just upset everyone, that how I operated, because I had no model, I had no support, I had no training, I had nothing. You know, I had people in a corner rallying for my demise and my defeat because they wanted me to go away so badly. So how could I win under those circumstances? The only thing that I did without any resources, zero, parked my car around the corner the first year of my career so no one would see it. Not around the corner, 2 blocks in case someone saw it around the corner. You know, I had no resources in the very beginning of my life. And then from that, past all of the people, some MBAs in finance, some very intelligent, credible, savvy, experienced people. Because I realized that business is a human issue. It's not an economic issue. And the economics are merely a byproduct of the quality of the human relationship, that's all. So what my model was as a woman was relationship. And it's a woman's nature to nourish and support and uplift and encourage someone. Maternal instinct was in place. And I had no idea that the maternal instinct is really the parenting instinct is really where your power is as a leader, as a manager, as a sole owner, whatever it is you want to do, because the parent looks at their circumstances. My father, walking 5 miles in the snow to school, wants me to have a bus. He wants it better for me than he had it. So why do we only isolate that to our family? So I, as a woman and as a business professional, want for other people to have it easier than I had it. That's why I've created this plan. Because with this plan, you're going to bypass all of that minutia, I think was the word I heard earlier, bypass all that minutia that doesn't work, and sets you up to operate from your weakest identity, not your most empowered identity. And your most powerful identity, parent-like, you want it better for your children. Parent-like, professional-like, I want my client to have it better than I had it. So what I'm going to do is use every resource I have available to me to help my client win. And now my resources are vast. They're global at this point.